Vigil at the Vatican.
The faithful gather in St. Peter's Square to mourn the death of a pope.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening. I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois.
For the first time in 12 years, the chair of St. Peter is vacant.
Sede vacante is the Latin term for this period between the death of a pope and the election of his successor.
Pope Francis, spiritual leader of the world's nearly 1.5 billion Catholics, died this morning of a stroke at the age of 88.
After one last celebration of Easter, the most joyous day on the Christian calendar.
One final blessing of the faithful from the balcony. The same balcony where he introduced himself to the world in March of 2013.
His funeral will be held in St. Peter's Square. President and Mrs. Trump will lead the U.S. delegation.
Burial will not be in St. Peter's Basilica, but at the Pope's request, at the Papal Basilica of St. Mary Major, reflecting Francis's special devotion to the Blessed Mother.
And then in early May, the Cardinals will meet to choose his successor. Seth Doane begins our coverage tonight from Rome. Seth?
The week leading up to Easter is the most important and one of the busiest times for the Pope. But Pope Francis did not heed his doctor's warnings to rest and to stay away from crowds. Rather, he was where he loved to be most, surrounded by people. Bells tolling to mark the passing of a pope is a practice dating back to the Middle Ages. Today they honored a church leader who very much broke with tradition. It set a somber tone in St. Peter's Square as we saw how the startling news was settling in. The Monday after Easter is a holiday here in Italy, and many have come out here to the center of the Catholic Church to pay their respects to the people's Pope.
I mean, this is where he lived. This is, the Vatican is the symbol of the Catholic Church.
Sanchita Loba lives in Rome and could only think to bring her family, even the dog, to be as close as they could. You didn't know the Pope, but no. It seems like
But I knew the Pope. He lived in a simple place. He wore simple clothes. He chose not to be in fancy cars. Those things was really a fine example of what today's Catholic should be like.
He was a pope of the people, the people's pope.
John Allen is the editor of Crux, a news site specializing in the Vatican. He says it was remarkable to see Francis on Easter Sunday after that 38-day hospitalization with double pneumonia. Regardless of what doctors said, stay away from big crowds, that didn't happen.
Look, to paraphrase Frank Sinatra, he did it his way. And his way was not to remain under wraps.
Americans Teddy Boutinis and Lindsay Datis are studying abroad in Florence and learned the news on the train to Rome this morning.
You know, there's definitely an aura. It's peaceful and it's joyous, even though it's a really sad thing. I think there's just like a really light energy, and I think there's a reason for that.
Many remarked just how different these scenes were from those on Easter Sunday.
I mean, at the time, we thought this was the Pope's triumphant comeback. It turned out, of course, to be his swan song.
Yusuf Chadid from Lebanon noted the cross-section of cultures represented in the church.
But also to be part of it because we are part of the people for which Pope Francis always asked to pray for him. So we are kind of giving back to him what he just gave us.
As is tradition, the official residence of the Pope was sealed today, another ritual of many to come in this papal transition, a transition which, when he waved to crowds on Easter, no one would expect to happen so soon.
Seth, what do we expect in the coming days, and how will it depart from tradition?
Well, we've seen, John, this was a pope who underlined simplicity through his entire papacy and how he was driven around in the clothes that he wore. And now we see it will also affect how he will be buried and his final wishes. We expect it to be a much more simple coffin. He'll have a closed coffin. That coffin is expected to be brought to St. Peter's Basilica in the middle of the week, likely on Wednesday. And he will depart from tradition with all other popes had their title Pope on their tomb. He will have simply Franciscus.
Seth Doane for us in Rome. Thank you, Seth.
Our Norah O'Donnell is the only American network television correspondent to interview Pope Francis.
She met with him at the Vatican in May of last year.
Do you like when you are called the people's pope?
El Papa de la gente.
The Pope of the people? I've always been a pastor. You are a pastor for the people, not for yourself. A pastor has to be for the people.
Pope Francis was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Argentina in 1936 into a family of Italian immigrants. Bergoglio was on his way to a party when he passed a church and felt compelled to go to confession. That moment led him to the priesthood. Decades later, he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires with a focus on the poor. And in 2001, Pope St. John Paul II elevated him to cardinal. As Pope for 12 years, Francis was known for his humility. He stuck to church doctrine, but extended his hand to those he felt were marginalized, especially migrants and the LGBTQ community.
You have said, who am I to judge? Homosexuality is not a crime.
No, it's a human fact.
There are conservative bishops in the United States that oppose your new efforts to revisit teachings and traditions. How do you address their criticism?
You used an adjective, conservative. That is, conservative is one who clings to something and does not want to see beyond that. It is a suicidal attitude. Because one thing is to take tradition into account, to consider situations from the past, but quite another is to be closed up inside a dogmatic box.
What do you hope your legacy is?
I never really thought about it. The church is the legacy. The church not only through the Pope, but through you, through every Christian, through everyone. Personally, I get on the bandwagon of the church and its legacy for all.
Norah joins us, and I never get tired of watching this interview. So why do you think he decided to sit down with you?
Well, this interview was almost exactly 1 year ago, and it surrounded the Vatican's first World Children's Day, something incredibly important to Pope Francis. You know, the Holy Father has used his papacy to focus on children, what world is being left for them, whether that is for migrant children, climate change, or issues of war and peace. So in many ways, it was a reset for the church, which has been beset by the child sex abuse scandal. And in our interview, he talked about the reforms and the zero tolerance for any abuse within the church.
Norah, you spent so much time with him. What surprised you about your time with the Holy Father?
I was surprised by his warmth, his graciousness. He gave us an hour of his time for this wide-ranging conversation. I mean, popes don't give interviews, but he answered all of our tough questions about doctrines. And one of my favorite parts was when I asked him if he likes being called the people's pope. And he had this huge smile on his mouth. And I think that's exactly what he wants his legacy to be, this pastoral outreach and a legacy of inclusiveness.
Norah O'Donnell on her extraordinary interview. Thank you, Norah.
Thank you.
Cardinals from around the world will soon be heading to Rome for the Pope's funeral and to choose his successor. The date for the funeral and the conclave have not yet been announced.
Among those cardinals is Timothy Dolan, the Archbishop of New York. He shared his thoughts with me today about Francis.
This morning when I heard the news, when I went into my chapel to pray for him, what was I thinking of? He called me when my mom died. He called me the second week into COVID and said, how's New York doing? He called me on October 7th and he said, how are my Jewish friends in New York doing? These are the things that move you. There's sort of a communal fascination and affection for him. You kind of expect it among Catholics, but when you see it outside, you're thinking, wow, the impact this man had. People felt hugged by him.
When you talk about that, people of other faiths coming up to you and expressing those deep condolences, not superficial ones, why do you think that is?
I remember his first Sunday in Rome after he was Pope. And what did he speak about? He spoke about tenderness. To hear the Pope speak about tenderness, mercy, compassion, love. This is what moved us about him.
Is that his legacy?
You know how when you read the Gospels, Jesus seemed to have X-ray vision for the people at the side of the road. You know, he'd be surrounded by crowds, but he could always, oh, there's the woman who's suffering. Pope Francis almost had like a radar for people who were left behind at the side of the road. I could see his eyes when he'd see the baby. I could see his eyes when he would see somebody who was maybe bent over and crippled at the side, right over there. I'd say that's a legacy that was contagious and is going to stick with us.
I love that idea of radar, but Cardinal Dolan's a jolly guy. Did he ever talk about the Pope's humor?
He sure did. It wasn't all about just humility and spirituality. He described the time they were at an event and there was a circus act. A couple guys were swallowing swords. He said, "Holy Father, I'm not swallowing a sword." And the Holy Father looked at his stomach and said, "That's about the only thing you're not swallowing." So it was that way behind closed doors as well.
Great.